You walk into the kitchen, and before anyone's face fully turns toward you, you already know something has shifted. Nobody has said a word yet. The air just feels heavier than it did 10 minutes ago, and your shoulders drop half an inch before your mind even catches up to why. Psychology tells a completely different story about what just happened in your body. There are 6 rare patterns that build people who read a room before anyone speaks, patterns most of them never had language for until now. Trait 1. Your nervous system tracks tone before it tracks words. Somewhere in your childhood, your brain learned that the content of a sentence mattered less than the sound underneath it. A slightly clipped fine, a pause that lasted 1 second too long, a door that closed a little too carefully. These became your real information source, long before you understood grammar or logic. And here's the strange part. This wasn't a skill you practiced. Something installed itself while you were still learning to talk, and it never once asked what it would cost you to keep running for the next 20 years. Most people process language first and emotion second. Your brain reversed the order, and what that reversal actually rewired turns out to be bigger than tone alone. Think about the last time someone said, "I'm okay," in a text message. You didn't read the words. You read the punctuation, the delay before they answered, the fact that they used a period instead of nothing at all. By the time they explained what was actually wrong 20 minutes later, you already knew. You'd known since the first message. That's why you can walk into a conversation already knowing, before a single sentence lands, whether it's safe to relax. Trait 2. You clock the emotional weather of a house before you clocked your own hunger. If you grew up around a mood that could change fast, a parent's silence, a sudden shift in energy, a house that felt different depending on the hour, your brain didn't have the luxury of ignoring it. It built an early warning system instead. Fast, quiet, constantly running in the background. And the strange part isn't that this system worked. It's that it worked so well, it started running even in rooms that were never dangerous at all. Picture walking into a friend's apartment for a casual dinner. Nothing is wrong. Nobody is upset. And yet you clock, within seconds, that your friend and their partner had some kind of disagreement an hour ago. The way they're standing slightly too far apart, the way one of them laughs half a second late. They never confirm it. They don't need to. You already adjusted the whole evening around information nobody gave you on purpose. If you've ever felt embarrassed for picking up on things nobody else noticed, this is exactly why. Your radar was built somewhere that needed one. But a system that runs this fast, this constantly, has to pull its power from somewhere, and that somewhere is about to become obvious. Before you keep going, if this is already sounding uncomfortably familiar, hit subscribe. The next trait is the one that explains where all that noticing actually goes once it's inside you. Trait 3. Reading everyone else quietly emptied out your ability to read yourself. Attention is not an unlimited resource. And for years, most of yours has been quietly spent somewhere you never chose on purpose. Here's what nobody tells you about that trait. It isn't a flaw in your self-awareness. It's a resource that got redirected outward for so long, it forgot how to point back in. Every second you spend scanning a room for shifts in someone else's mood is a second not spent checking in with your own. Over enough years, this trait becomes automatic. You get remarkably fluent in other people's inner weather and strangely illiterate in your own. You'd expect a person this attuned to feelings to always know exactly what they're feeling, and yet the opposite is often true. Someone asks how you're doing, and there's a real pause before you answer, not because you're hiding something, but because you genuinely have to go looking for the answer, the same way you'd search for a word in a language you rarely speak. Meanwhile, you could tell them, without hesitation, exactly how 3 other people in the room are feeling right now. "That's why I don't know, I'm fine," can be a completely honest answer, even when your body is clearly holding tension somewhere. Trait 4. Your body reacts to a shift before your conscious mind names it. By the time you consciously think something's off, your stomach has usually already tightened, or your breathing has already changed, or your jaw has already set. The awareness comes second, the physical read comes first. This is what makes people call you intuitive, or perceptive, or able to read a room. What they're actually describing is a body that learned to detect danger signals before the brain had time to build a sentence about them. You'll be sitting in a meeting, everything sounding perfectly normal, and you notice your shoulders have crept up toward your ears. It takes another full minute before someone says the thing that explains why, a comment that lands wrong, a name that gets mentioned a certain way. Your body had already started bracing for it before a single word confirmed there was anything to brace for. But the tension isn't random. It's data, and the strange part is how well you've learned to keep every bit of that data completely invisible to everyone standing right next to you. Trait 5. Other people mistake your vigilance for calm. Because you learn to notice shifts without reacting visibly, you often look composed in moments where you are quietly running a full internal scan. Friends call you steady, coworkers call you unbothered. What they're actually watching is a nervous system working overtime behind a face that learned, a long time ago, not to show it. If people genuinely believe you're the calm one, why are you so often the most tense person in the entire room? Someone once told you in the middle of an argument at a family dinner, "You're so calm about this, it doesn't even seem to bother you." You said nothing. Underneath the table, your leg hadn't stopped bouncing since the first raised voice. Here's the part almost nobody clocks. Staying quiet while you scan isn't the same as staying calm while you scan. Those are two very different internal experiences, wearing the exact same expression. Trait 6 is different from all the others because it isn't about what you notice. It's about what all that noticing was actually building the entire time. Every one of these traits looks on the surface like hyper-awareness. Something slightly too much, slightly too tiring, slightly too exhausting to explain to people who have never lived inside it. But step back far enough and a different shape appears. A child who learns to read a room before it turns dangerous isn't broken. They're building one of the most sophisticated pattern recognition systems a developing brain can construct, faster than logic, faster than language, running quietly underneath everything else you do. That system never asked your permission to keep running into adulthood. It just assumed the room might still need watching. Think about how many rooms you've walked into as an adult that were never actually dangerous at all. A friend's kitchen, a work meeting, a first date, and your system still ran the exact same scan it was built to run somewhere else entirely, years ago, for someone who genuinely needed it. It wasn't wrong to build that system. It was just never told the emergency ended. Which means the thing you've spent years quietly apologizing for noticing too much, feeling things before anyone explains them, sensing a shift nobody else caught, was never a flaw sitting on top of you. It was a skill your body built to keep you safe, still running exactly the way it was designed to. You were never too sensitive. You were never too much. You were never broken. You were built differently, by a childhood that needed you to notice first and feel second. And that system is still trying to protect you, even now, in rooms that no longer need watching. Which trait hit closest to home? Drop a number in the comments.